Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we're going to be talking about even more DLC fighters to come to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, because in case you didn't hear, it's been confirmed, we are getting even more fighters beyond the Fighters Pass. Maybe not. So this time we're going to be going over our top 15 DLC fighters to make it into Smash Bros. But before we get started, I want to talk about something very briefly that came from the Japanese Game Awards. So Masahiro Sakurai received several awards for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I'm going to read this translation from what he said at that point. Now this translation is by Push Justin from Twitter, the founder for Source Gaming, so I'll put a link to that in the description below, but here it is. I'm sorry for bringing up this personal story at a time like this, but making Smash Bros. On the Switch was the last mission the late Satoru Iwata gave to me, and I've put my all into the game, and with more DLC, I will continue to work hard. For those of you who don't know, the late Satoru Iwata was the previous Nintendo president, and he passed away a few years ago. I mean, even before Tatsumi Kimishima. He did so much for Nintendo. I think a lot of what we're enjoying right now with the Nintendo Switch and Super Smash Bros. Has a lot to do with him. So it's a little heart-wrenching, I guess, to hear this, but at the same time, to see how dedicated Sakurai is to Super Smash Bros. Is incredibly exciting, and I think it says really good things about the game and what's to come. So, let's continue the speculation about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Masahiro Sakurai is doing everything in his power to make Super Smash Bros. Ultimate the ultimate Smash Bros. Game, and I would say he's pretty much already fulfilled that promise. However, he's doing more. Even more DLC fighters are coming. How many? We don't know. I'm not sure. Probably less than 15. But either way, I'm going to be talking about the 15 most likely in my opinion. Now, this list is, again, my opinion. I'm sure there are going to be some characters that some of you may want who will not be on this list. They may still make it in. They may even be more likely. So if you believe so, please let me know in the comments below. But either way, I'm going to be talking about the top 15 most likely DLC fighters in my opinion, from least likely to most likely. But if they're on this list, I think they have a pretty good shot regardless. Coming in at number 15, it's Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Why Sora? Well, because if Sora happened, the internet would explode, and I think for that reason alone, he should definitely be considered, because he's a big character that a lot of people care about. Kingdom Hearts is very popular, and to have Kingdom Hearts represented in Super Smash Bros. Would be kind of a glorious thing. That said, it is kind of a rights complication issue, I think, between Disney and Square. I don't entirely understand how that would work out, and for that reason alone, I think it would definitely make it not as likely. Not to mention, Square has already had multiple representatives in Smash Bros. Already, so I would say Sora isn't the most likely candidate, but because of how big of a deal he would be, I think Sakurai and Nintendo would definitely consider it as a possibility, so maybe it could happen. The next in line is Crash Bandicoot. He would be a great representative for Activision. Activision does not have a representative yet. Personally, I would prefer Spyro because I'm a nerd for dragons, but Crash, I think, would be the more appropriate candidate from Activision. Do you guys remember those commercials where Crash had the megaphone and he was shouting at Nintendo headquarters? Yeah, that was pretty cool and fairly antagonistic, which is why I think it would be really ironic to have him in Smash Brothers, but that's also why I think he would be really awesome to have, and a lot of people would be really excited about it, so maybe Nintendo and Sakurai are also considering it as well. This next character, in my opinion, is the most important female character in gaming besides Samus, and that's Lara Croft. Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. There aren't any Tomb Raiders games yet on the Switch, and there does seem to be some sort of correlation with the characters in the Fighters Pass and third-party games coming to the Switch, so maybe there could be some sort of deal with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider games coming to the Switch. That'll be really nice to see, and because Smash Bros. Has become somewhat of a, not just somewhat, an entire celebration of the history of gaming, I would say, Lara Croft as one of the most important characters in gaming history should definitely be considered as well, so I would say she's fairly likely. Now don't worry, there are going to be some Nintendo characters on this list. A lot of people have been talking about how the Fighters Pass is only third-party characters. Shouldn't there be some actual Nintendo characters for the DLC of a Nintendo fighting game? I think so. So the first Nintendo character I'm going to bring up on this list is Bandana Waddle Dee. Do I want this character? Not really, but I think he has a pretty decent chance. Masahiro Sakurai created the Kirby series, and Bandana Waddle Dee is one of the main characters from that series. We already have Meta Knight, we already have King Dedede, obviously we have Kirby. The next in line would be Bandana Waddle Dee, so it wouldn't shock me if Sakurai brought over Bandana Waddle Dee from his beloved Kirby franchise. Now, this character was recently discussed with some leaks. He was considered as a possibility for the 4th DLC fighter in the Fighter's Pass, but as it turns out, it's Terry Bogard instead, and the character I'm talking about is Ryu Hayabusa. Some people are speculating that maybe Ryu Hayabusa could be the final character in the Fighter's Pass. That's definitely possible, but either way, I would say Ryu Hayabusa is a character that's a part of gaming history, and similar to the Castlevania characters or the Street Fighter characters, I could see his older version getting some sort of modernized remix look, and I think Sakurai would love to do that, so maybe it could happen. I could kind of see it, so that's why I'm putting him on this list. Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden could make it into Super Smash Bros. For number 10, technically, it's not a Nintendo character, but it's a character that I think is close at home with a lot of Nintendo fans, and that's Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes. This series was really popular on the Nintendo Wii, and it's getting a resurgence on the Nintendo Switch. No More Heroes 3 is coming out next year, so there's even more DLC coming out next year. Maybe they'll line up a Travis Touchdown character along with the release of No More Heroes 3. Could it happen? Yes. Is it super likely? Maybe not super likely, but definitely a possibility for sure, in my opinion. When the categorization of Echo characters was announced at the initial Super Smash Bros. E3 presentation back in 2018, I thought that there would be a lot more Echo characters than what we have so far, and a lot of people have been speculating that maybe we could get some sort of Echo pack with the DLC. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to pan out, but I do feel like there's maybe, let's say, a coin flip's chance that there could be some Echo fighters coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so here's a few. Shadow from, Sonic the Hedgehog series. Shadow's been requested for quite some time. A lot of people thought he was a shoo-in for the base roster in Smash Ultimate, yet that did not happen. However, I could see it happening. Now, for this Echo and the others I'm going to be mentioning really soon, I think they're going to be more than just a costume swap like Simon and Richter. I think they're going to be closer to, say, Chrom, like where he has different moves that are taken from multiple characters. So maybe his neutral B is using, say, the gun move from Joker. I could see something like that happening, and maybe he's a little bit slower, but he hits a little bit harder than Sonic. Another Echo character that I could see happening is EMPA as an Echo of Sheik. Now, maybe one thing they could do to sort of differentiate EMPA from Sheik could be maybe to like extend her reach a little bit, give her like a short blade when she does her dash attack, maybe have her hit a little bit harder and move a little bit slower, have more knockback, something along those lines. That'll be really interesting to see, and I mean, come on, it's EMPA. EMPA is a pretty prevalent character in the Zelda series, so if the Zelda series is going to get another character and it's not Skull Kid since he's already an assist trophy, EMPA would definitely be my next bet. Now, I realize that all the Echoes I'm listing are all right next to each other, suggesting that I think their likelihood is very similar to each other. I think that the Echoes I'm going to be listing are going to happen if Echoes are coming. If Echoes aren't coming, they're not going to happen. But if Echoes do happen, I feel like these 3 Echoes are all going to happen. I've listed 2. Here's the next one, Dixie Kong. Now, with Dixie Kong, at one point she was considered for Brawl, but it just wasn't going to work out to having her as a combo character with Diddy Kong, so she was scrapped. But if these Echo characters do happen, I can see Dixie Kong finally being added, and maybe they change her up B to something that kind of is like a combination of King K. Rool's up B, but instead of it being a backpack with a propeller, it's actually just her hair, and she doesn't need to have that up B like Diddy Kong, and maybe give her the bubble gun instead of the peanut gun, and there you go, you got Dixie Kong. For number 6, this character is a character that I'm kind of surprised has not been announced for Smash Bros. Yet, but maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe there's just some sort of weird technical limitation because of his lack of limbs? I'm talking about Rayman. Rayman doesn't have any arms or legs. He has hands and feet, but no arms or legs, which is kind of weird. But nevertheless, Rayman is the poster boy, the figurehead for Ubisoft, and Ubisoft has a great relationship with Nintendo. They've worked on multiple Nintendo IP, multiple crossovers. They are they're a big deal. They've done a lot with Nintendo, yet they're not really all too well represented in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which I think is weird. I feel like Rayman kinda has to happen, yet he hasn't happened yet. Maybe the reason Rayman hasn't happened yet is because his amiibo just wouldn't be possible. But even if there was not an amiibo for Rayman, I feel like that should not be the only reason why Rayman can't happen. And they could just put little plastic stands to hold up his hands and legs. I don't think it's impossible to make it work. We've made it to my top 5 most likely DLC characters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Coming in at number 5 is a character that I did not think would happen until they announced that there would be more DLC fighters. Originally, I at one point considered her for the Fighters Pass, but I gave up on her really quickly considering that she's already a spirit in the game and she's not really that big of a character compared to other third-party characters. But this is a character that has been on many Nintendo systems and has been around for quite some time. The character I'm talking about is Shantae. And the reason why I think Shantae has a high likelihood of happening is, one, we kind of need more female characters in a DLC, I think, but also she's a highly requested character. She's very close to the Nintendo fandom, and there was that recent intro for Shantae 5, I believe, that has that window that looks like a straight up nod towards the Smash logo. I don't even think it was a coincidence. I think it was a legitimate nod. The question is, was it a tease for Shantae as a DLC fighter, or was it simply just a nod because, hey, she's at least a spirit, and the Shantae team is just happy that they have some inclusion in Smash Brothers? We won't know until something is said by someone somewhere, but I think Shantae could actually be happening. Call it a gut feeling, maybe I'm wrong. These are just, I guess, pseudo predictions, of course, but that's why she's number 5 on this list. Technically for number 4, it's 2 characters, maybe 4 characters, but I really love this franchise and I feel like it should definitely be represented in Super Smash Bros. And the franchise I'm talking about is Resident Evil. Similar to the hero, I think there could be multiple characters from different Resident Evil games represented here, but the 2 that I have in mind are Leon S. Kennedy and Jill Valentine. They are 2 of the most important characters from Resident Evil. Maybe there's another character or 2, but those 2 really stand out in my opinion, especially for the Nintendo fan base. I actually think they have tons of moveset potential just from Resident Evil 4 with all the different weapons and suplexes and throws and knife attacks. There's so much they could do here, and there's so many Resident Evil games coming to Switch. I feel like they have a pretty darn good chance, so that's why they are number 4 on this list. Number 3 is the Doom Slayer, the Doom guy, marine person from Doom. Doom could be happening for Smash Brothers, I think. Why? Well, look at how many Doom games are on the Switch. Look at that special Doom 64 announcement they had in the previous Nintendo Direct. And there was also that one interview that came up where it was confirmed that Bethesda had discussions with Nintendo about Smash Brothers. What does that mean exactly? Potentially nothing. But it also could potentially be something, and Doom Guy has come up in several rumors. It makes sense in my opinion. It would be kind of nuts. Maybe that's why people couldn't see it happening because of how gruesome the series is. But I feel like there's definitely ways that could all be designed around. Just as long as you exclude blood and actual limbs falling off, I think Doom could totally happen for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now for the final 2 characters, I don't even just think it's like likely, I think it's happening for sure. It's just a matter of when. The second to last character, number 2, is Geno from Super Mario RPG. Why Geno? Geno's not even that popular of a character. He's not even really that relevant. Well, in case you haven't really been paying attention, relevance is not that important. Terry Bogard from Fatal Fury or King of Fighters, not really that big of a fighting franchise nowadays. It has a huge history, but the point is that not too many people thought Terry Bogard would happen of all the different popular third-party characters. And then Banjo and Kazooie, that franchise is basically dead. Now maybe they're gonna make a huge comeback thanks to Smash Brothers, but they also were not relevant. But similar to Banjo and Kazooie and Terry Bogard, there is a huge fan base for this character. And for Geno in particular, it's a fan base that's a Nintendo fan base that played Super Mario RPG back on the Super Nintendo, and then of course Geno's been talked about on internet forums for years, and he's been a highly requested character. He was at one point considered to be an actual character for Smash Brothers, and then for Smash Wii U and 3DS, he was made into a Mii costume that actually had his own splash screen when announced. Sakurai loves Geno, he wants him in Smash Brothers. I think it would be very fitting at least. We already got Ridley, and then King K. Rool, and most recently Banjo and Kazooie. Geno would be the completion of that list of characters that have been long-time fan-requested characters, and with more DLC to come, I think it's gonna finally happen. Alright, it's time for the final character. The final character is not just one character, but a set of characters that were already brought up by Sakurai in the final Smash Direct. Talking about Rex, and Pyra, and Mythra, and maybe another Blade. It's hard to say, but I think they're gonna definitely happen. Why? Well, when we look at the final Smash Direct, Sakurai explains that they would have been in Super Smash Bros. As an actual fighter had there been enough time, yet there wasn't. But now that it's been confirmed that even more DLC fighters are coming, and Sakurai's planning on making characters indefinitely it seems, why wouldn't it happen? We've seen interviews showing that Sakurai loves Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and that he wanted them to be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as actual fighters, and he even put in the Mii costume and the spirits and the music as sort of an apology because there wasn't enough time to get them in. I think they're a shoo-in. I think it really is just a matter of time, and we are getting more DLC fighters beyond the Fighters Pass, so I think it has to happen. But that's it. Those are my top 15 most likely DLC characters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Will all of these characters happen? Probably not. But will some of them happen? I'm pretty damn sure yes. Will other characters that I have not brought up happen? Also, I would say pretty likely as well. Maybe you guys have some idea as to who those could be. But anyways everyone, this is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you love Nintendo content, please make sure you are subscribed. Leaving a like would be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.